What's going on, everybody? My name is Tomas. This video is about two power banks that I've had the pleasure of using for the past month or so. I am, of course, speaking of the Anker Power Core with Quick Charge 3.0. Now, that 3.0 is a direct representation and reflection of the output capability of these two power banks. They are capable of outputting 3 amps to your device for quickly charging them. I want to talk a little bit about specifications before we get into my experience of these two power banks. The one thing that both of these power banks feature is smart technology where it is able to detect your device's input capabilities. So when I say that, if you have a device that is not capable of intaking 3 amps of power, this power bank will not push that much power, preventing against damage of your charging system within your device. And now that's something I require of all of my external power sources, especially when it comes to a power bank, because of the possibility of damaging your devices if these things are not intelligently communicating with your device and making the right selection of the amperage. Both the 10,000 and 20,000 milliamp hour versions of the Power Core with Quick Charge 3.0 have 3 output options. The first, of course, is what we were talking about, is 3 amps. It also outputs at 2 amps and a 1.5 amp output. The one thing that's different about the 20,000 milliamp hour than the 10,000 is that it has a second output, and that one is capable of outputting at 1.5 amps only. And now with the 20,000 milliamp hour version, you are capable of charging 2 devices at once. You're just going to have to make that selection on which device is most important to you, and in the sense of which needs to be charged first and fastest. Keep in mind that in today's age in technology, most wall chargers are capable of outputting at 1 amp. This secondary USB is capable of outputting even higher amperage than what is, most commonly used and known. So that's a good thing. But again, you're just going to have to play musical chairs on which device needs to be charged first. With all this talk of output amperages, it really doesn't mean anything if it takes you a half year to charge these things back up after they're depleted. The good thing about both of these Anker power banks is that they're capable of taking in 2 amps. So really, in a few hours, you can get both of these things charged back up and you can get back on the move. Along the lines of being on the move, both of these things are fantastic for, if you have some cargo shorts or cargo pockets to throw both of these things in, and you can just go about your day. They're not too heavy. The 20,000 milliamp hour is around 13 ounces or roughly 370 grams. The 10,000 milliamp hour is roughly 190 grams and comes in at around 6.5 ounces. Anker also includes a carrying pouch with both of these things. Now I want to talk a little bit about my experience when I was using these power banks for the past month or so. The 20,000 milliamp hour power bank was just fantastic. I found myself using that more often than I did the 10,000 milliamp hour. The main reason being is that it has 2 outputs. Where both of these come in handy, probably the most often for me, the 10,000 milliamp hour stays connected to my Sony a7R II almost all the time, especially when I'm shooting video. The 20,000 milliamp hour was for carrying around and charging up my phones when I needed a quick bump up in percentage, and it just performed really well. To give you kind of a scope of an idea of how long it actually takes to get a charge out of this thing, I took my wife's iPhone 6 from about 5% to about 95% in about 43 minutes. So it really does the job, and it does a fantastic job at that. And for about $25 or $50 for the 10,000 milliamp hour and 20,000 milliamp hour respectively, you really can't beat the actual utility of these power banks. They're built really well, they do the job, and they just continue to work whenever you need them. And before I close, I must disclose, Anker was kind enough to send these power banks out to me for review. Without them, this video would not have been possible, so a huge shout out to them. If you're interested in pricing and availability of either one of these power banks, it will be linked in the description right below that like button. Well, that about does it for me in this one. If you like this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If not, hit that other one. Thanks for taking the time to watch. I'm Tomas, and I'll catch you in the next one.